Oh, I don't know. I think we have a surprise guest. Who we got?
Oh, wow.
In Stadium 2 with Tracy, because we know we're waiting to speak with Gordon Uehling.
Yep.
But
Hey.
oh, wow.
And Seal. We got Seal.
So
Yeah, Tracy, you tell us who we're
Yes.
hanging with right now.
We've got Brett Hobden. Yep. We've got Gordon Uehling, and we've got Seal.
Wow. What a great
Yes.
start. Want to hang out with Tracy.
So we are all squished together. It's a family affair. And I think that it's quite, and we have Mark Leshley behind the camera, who is part of the Hurd Awards as well. I am on the selection committee with Gordon for the Hurd Awards. And if you guys know, the last few years, it was first with Mark Hurd, and then it was Paula, who instituted it again, where the top collegiate player coming out of college, making that transition to pros, is going to get a $100,000 grant. And we were on the selection committee.
Yes, and Paula, she was a little challenging for me at the moment. She said, "Hey, Gordon, why don't you step up and maybe give a finalist?"
What happened was the finalists, there were, the first two who won, it was Quinn and Fiona Crawley.
Yeah.
But there were two other young people, Chloe Beck on the women's side and Kingsley on the men's
and it
side.
was Cannon that we saw. His video just really got all of us kind of a little emotional, right?
So Paula kind of made this guy feel guilty and said, "Gordon, can you come up with another 40 grand for each?"
Well, I mentioned in the selection committee, didn't I? And I said, you know what? How do we not help this guy? I mean, it's just unbelievable, his story. And next day I called Mark and said, you know what? Our family foundation, Youth Performance Institute, which Seal is on. He's on our board, and we're just making a difference for kids. And the whole idea is we want kids that can mentor other kids. And there's nothing better than these kids that are young adults that you see on the video here, and what they're doing in tennis and to mentor others.
So that's Quinn, bottom left, and Fiona Crawley on the right. But you've talked about how Jim Loehr, who's a pioneer in our sport, he goes back so far, working with so many of the top players and lower ranked players
12 number one players in the world. He helped to get to number one.
For psychology, but he's also part of this program with mentoring, coaching, technology.
Yes.
And you explained.
Yeah, and he created a place called Human Performance Institute, and Arthur Ashe introduced me to him in 1991, and he changed my life, Dr. Loehr, amongst many other lives, and Seal's. I'm going to let Seal talk about it because he's got some stories.
How did he change your life?
Well, I've been going to Gordon's place over in New Jersey to hear Dr. Loehr speak for the last 2 years. And the first year I went there, he said something, just one sentence that really changed my relationship with my I was going to say my kids, they're not kids anymore, but my young sons and daughters. He said that the voice that we use to speak to our children, the outer voice, forms their inner voice as they grow older. So we have to be really conscious about what we say to them, or on how we speak to them. And that one sentence really changed my approach with how I spoke with my young adults, and the relationship between them and myself improved tenfold. And then last year he said something quite similar, which was not to be afraid to let your kids know that you don't always have the answer to things. So basically, invite them into the decision-making process when you're trying to solve problems.
And
treat them like adults.
Sorry, and one thing I was going to say is Dr. Loehr talks about how it's the person first and the tennis player second, or the person first and everything else second. And it's really looking at people from a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. And he's done that with FBI agents to Navy SEALs and corporate athletes. And I just think of the world of him. Oh yeah, and Navy SEAls and real SEAls like this guy.
Seal, how's your tennis game? Have you been able to get out there with any of the players or get on the court? How long have you been in the desert there?
Ask my knees how my tennis game is at the moment.
We've been working hard.
You told me you're playing every day.
Yeah, he has.
I am playing every day. My knees played yesterday. Just a bit too much. I don't know if I was there in full mind and spirit. But my knees played. My knees aren't doing too well, but my enthusiasm for the game is endless.
And Brett, tell us about God of Tennis, because you are part of the analytics, and you've said that there's so many analytics companies. These players are so interested in it. They're trying to get that last ounce of advantage versus the other players, and you said yours is a little bit different.
Yeah, we
track beyond just numerical data, and we go into really analyzing the very specific zones of the court, the different runways of the court. We track tactical data in defense, counterattack, rally, challenge, and attack modes of play, and we also track all the shot selections. Like in the ground strokes, there's 10 different shot types we're tracking. So we're taking data, we're turning them into super meaningful insights, and then that leads to action, to really what I need to work on, how to work on it, and basically how to improve my own game. Not only that, it's a very powerful scouting tool, you can imagine, to look at what your opponent's strengths and weaknesses are. So I think it really peels back the layer of the onion and really gives you great insights onto those areas of the game, which is so meaningful, because just to look at, say, you know, I missed 5 cross-court forehands and made 6, but what situation were you in? So we call it a situationally specific analytics platform.
I would think where someone serves on break points down, that would be important.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
but
not
we'll
only
say
that.
what spin it was, though, not just where it was served.
Yeah,
What
so
type of serve?
Brett and Gordon, you guys co-founded God Analytics, and you've done a lot of work with Novak Djokovic. So how long have you been working with Novak? You're also currently working with Jan Minsik. This is a player that's coming up quickly, is a player that we all need to start watching out for. And also Brandon Nakashima. He's been on an absolute tear. So tell us first about Novak, when you started working with him, and along with all these other players. I believe you worked with Dimitrov and Casper Ruud as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Novak, as you guys, I think, know, for many years, since he was 19. And when I came across this, and I've been part of his team since he was 19, 20 years old. And and when I met Brett through Tommy Haas, because, you know, Brett coached Tommy Haas from 14 to 17. And he was like, this guy is the brightest mind I ever met in the game of tennis. And he basically was, I felt like this is the guy that could help Novak in a profound way, you know, and amongst other players, because the data really spoke volumes, and it wasn't just statistics. And, you know, Nole saw it, and the team saw it, and it gave, you know, the ability for him to have more purpose on court. Even, you know, he always did, obviously, but it took, I think it helped tremendously. Anybody we work with, which is exciting. It's kind of like an MRI to the game. Versus
Is this your house?
Yes,
Yeah, there's Bethany Maddox-Sands,
This is
Novak
25 minutes from
Djokovic, and
the US
tell us
Open.
about the zones and all of that there, Brett.
Yeah, so that's the way we analyze your performance, not just backcourt, midcourt, net. We've actually put 3 zones for the baseline area, just in front of the baseline, just behind, and the very deep backcourt. So what our tactics are and the shots that we use obviously immensely change depending on what those zones are. So that's how we analyze the game, and we go into that level of detail. You know, Novak's an awesome story, but, you know, Jakub Mensik, you know, only a short year ago we started with Jakub. You know, he's 493 or 4 in the world, and a year later he's 73. So not only have we been able to help, you know, the #1 player and the greatest of all time in Novak, but the profound difference it's made for a young 17-year-old guy who now is just 18, and the performance, you know, has been
It's
so...
become a roadmap for him.
It is,
I mean, literally
yeah.
every week, the team looks at the data and says, okay, it's obvious we got to work on this part of your game. Your
So what part of Seal's game do we need to work on? I mean, we're all wondering about that.
I was about to say, it's so good that it's even helped tennis hacks like me. It's improved my forehand, and you know, I've had the great fortune and privilege to be able to play down at Gordon's on this very court that you showed, and it's incredible what the difference it makes to the game. It's given me a lot of...
Yeah, we think of tennis as a question-answer game, and you have the answer to each question. And, you know, if you're going to receive a ball, you need to understand the question. You know, hitters don't understand the question. Players understand the question, then they give good answers.
So
right?
Novak is an investor, and
He's
I
an
hear
investor.
the
Kim
first
Clijsters.
4 years he didn't want anybody in the top 10 to also, but now he's opened that up.
Yeah, no, he really wants the game. I mean, he's my brother from another mother. I've known him for so long, and he really wants to see tennis be democratized. You know, so we also have an educational platform that's really powerful, and, you know, he's looking forward to being a part of that as well. So it's what we have with tech today is just incredible.
It's incredible.
And you think of what Mark Lesley is doing with UTR, and, you know, what we can maybe do with technique, tactics, all these things. It's a dream of mine to have some kid in Harlem or India or Africa become a world a Grand Slam champion because they had the tech to support them.
So
it
flooded
seems like
with
you guys
analytics. Oh, you go.
Sorry, Trace. It seems like you guys have found a way around. Frankly, all these stats can be a little bit boring. I feel like you guys have found a way to make it a little bit more visual. I like the zones. I like how you've sort of changed it up. As a coach on tour, I was getting a lot of information when I was coaching Jared Donaldson, and some of those stats, all this bulk information can be, frankly, it's too much. You're out on the court. You don't want to know all of that. If you can be specific, I love how you can sort of narrow in on improving Seal's forehand, improving, whatever it might be that needs to happen, and sort of do it by the weekly basis. I really like these ideas. Where did that sort of come from?
And one thing I would mention is when you say a forehand, our question is which forehand. So, and if you use golf as an analogy, we'd say, you know what, your clubs aren't working. Well, how does that help me? Well, it's your 7-iron uphill lie in the rough.
Right. So it's the running forehand.
Yeah.
It's the inside-out
You might be a counterattack forehand in zone 4, right? Or, Brett, why don't you explain a little bit more on the zones?
Explain these zones, Brett.
Yeah, so we've color-coded them for a reason, because it gives a player like a tactical cue. Obviously, you're in zone 5. It's red alert. You better do something real special from back there, or you're going to be in a world of hurt on the next ball.
You stole that from Star Trek, but that's all right.
That's where Medvedev plays a lot.
So there you go. So
He doesn't hang out there all day, though. Right? He starts through there, but
and obviously, we've seen players return in 5, but they're working their way more into zone 4, and that's the zone we have to be prepared in, and the zone that's home base for most of the players that are in a baseline rally. Okay. And we've with all the data we've collected, the insights we've collected, obviously dictating play from that zone is the place to be. But the zone that really is unique is 3.
Look at these lefty.
That's the lefty.
I think that's a zone 3 attack dip drive.
I could have been somebody. Look, I've got all the makings of it.
he's getting ready for his next life.
Hey, so Brett,
You
are
did
you
tell me
finding?
the other day you're getting better, though. You said you're getting better.
I'm definitely
Well, he's
getting better
adapting
with the
to
help of these
situations.
guys.
Yeah. So a question earlier, and I think this helps, like, how did we, or why did we come up with this? And this is how it applies to every level of player, whether you're a professional player, you're a collegiate player, you're a developing junior, or you're just a club player. What we help you do is find a technical solution for that tactical situation. And that's everything. Because as the zone changes that you move into play a shot from, and as the level of the degree of difficulty of incoming ball changes, that changes everything. It changes your technique, how you adapt. It should change your shot selection, your decision making, and that's what our data tracks, which is so profound, because it gives a true story of why a match was won or lost.
And when you see it from that lens, it's so much fun to be watching and playing. You're like, oh my goodness. I remember the first time I met Seal, I just watched you for 3 minutes. What was my first thing? I said, do you remember what I asked you?
You asked me.
This is a question-answer game.
You said it was a question.
And I said, I don't think you understand the question coming, do you? And he's like, tell me more. This is interesting. And then within, 5 minutes, we went from like 3-4 ball rallies to 25-30 ball rallies, just because he was adapting his swing pass, adapting his segmented swing.
Brett,
But it's also because you're a great coach.
Brett, do you find that you're going more through the coaches or the players when you have this data? Are you you going through with Novak? Are you going more to Goran or Novak? And same with Nakashima or Mensik?
Yeah, we go through their coaches all the time, and we send all the data and all the information to them. And then based on their team's wishes, we may follow up with certain teams once a week, a recap of the tournament, every 2 weeks, 1 meeting a month, but we leave that up to the team to decide. And then we do special projects for them we call deep dives. So say, for example, you had our data keeps showing you have a lot of trouble returning a kick serve on the ad side, and it just is, performing low on that return or giving your opponent an easy ball to dictate play on the next. We'll do a deep dive into that and pick 4 or 5 matches, and then we'll help come up with how technically that player can improve and make a difference on that specific return. Whereas serving a flat serve into that backhand, it might be bread and butter, and they just return that ball no problem. So that's what we're looking for, the very specific situations the player is good in or has trouble in, and that's what I think, you know, we
so this
do.
is much bigger than just matches. This is much bigger
absolutely.
than
Oh,
But
yeah.
I would assume that the players use this for matches a lot, and some players want 2 tidbits, and others may want 10. I mean, that's got to be the interesting part.
We look from the ground, returns, and serves, right? And that's how we break it down. And you know, these deep dives are powerful. We work with some juniors, collegiate players. It might be 4 matches we look at every 3-4 months. But then we can see their progress and see where they could get better. And we even have an insights button right on the app, right? So it's very interactive on an iPad. When you touch a certain circle or a triangle, there's a video attached to that.
Wow.
So now all of a sudden you see all of your unforced errors, true unforced errors. That's a topic we could talk about as well, you know, versus a lot of stat sheets show 35, 40 unforced errors. On ours, we show 9 or 10 because the others are forced errors,
Exactly.
right? So it's the messaging. It's really getting the story right. So
Do you guys have some? Do you have some amateur players wanting to be a part of this, wanting to know a little bit more? Everybody wants to improve, right? How do I improve my backhand as an amateur 4 or 5 player? How do I make it to 5-0?
And not only that is the price the same for amateurs, pros, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we're working on computer vision, and AWS is a partner with us in this, you know, with Amazon, and that's exciting because that becomes scalable. So eventually we'll have the ability to be able to, you know, put a camera up and have this deep insight. And then it'll take you to the education platform where we put 20 cameras in that indoor court and outdoor court.
So there might be a pricing difference.
There'll be a pricing difference, but we'll have the ability to go find specific shots of Novak, of Rybakina, from multiple angles. So imagine if I said, you know what, you're struggling in your 7-iron uphill lie in the rough. I mentioned that before. And, you know, we have Tiger Woods from 5 different angles hitting it. And you have a master coach like Tracy Austin, you know, sharing insights on how to get better at it. That's pretty cool, right?
That is cool.
I'll do it. Let's go. Let's go. I think 100,000
She doesn't have enough
people have
jobs. Let's
just
give her
signed
another
up.
one.
Not for me, but for you guys from the beginning of this
interview. We're getting ready. We're actually not, you know, we're going to be launching more around June, July, the education platform, and by the end of the year we'll have, you know, more you know, exciting stuff on the computer vision front.
So cool.
Very exciting.
Before we let
We've
you
been
guys
working on
go,
this for 4 years, by the way. So it's
Sounds
quite
exciting.
a process. Yeah.
well, we always want to know if there's anything to look forward to, anything new you want to plug or promote. Maybe Seal's got a new single or album coming out. I don't know.
You should hear some of his music when that comes out. Oh, baby. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So when's it coming out?
That's a good question. You know, it'll be finished when it's finished. I like to say, because you know the rules are very different in the music industry nowadays, and it's not like, you know, it's not like how it used to be, where, you know, there was a kind of predictable cycle to releasing albums and touring. Everything is a lot different now, but. The short answer to that question is you'll be hearing something in, I would say, within the next couple of months.
I love
it's
it.
special.
Nice.
Wait till you hear
Forward
it.
to
You
that.
got to listen to every word. That's great.
That's really awesome.
Can't wait.
And we, you know, with the Hurd Awards, everything you're doing with that has been so cool, Gordon. And we love to nerd out on tennis here at the Tennis Channel. So to hear about the data, the analytics, becoming more mainstream, it's just really cool to hear more about it. So thanks for joining us, and we hope you
thanks for having
enjoy
us.
the rest of the desert trip.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Thanks for
Thank
taking
you.
the time.
Appreciate it.
Guys.
Tracy, you're the best. Everyone. I mean, Tracy's just living the dream.
Was Tracy
She's got Seal
sitting
there.
on Gordon's lap? I was trying to figure out how they all
They figured
fit
it
in
out.
there. That was good.
Thank you to the cameraman for making that work.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, it looked
Seal
like we
just
learned.
popping in.
It looked like Seal's a lefty for sure.